we live largely in a very unproductive society. That's why the only thing that is attractive here is politics and church. You need to dismantle it. And we're going to turn night vigil into night shift so people can be productive. I go to church, I believe in God.
Yes.
But we cannot have people Monday to Friday be in church morning and night. No. If I go from here now to my house, the only signboard you see is signboard of churches. You go to the east, it's burials. That's not the country. If you go to any other country, you see product.
A snippet of what Peter Obi said in the interview he granted the Honest Bunch podcast. By the way, the full interview is coming up tomorrow. Is this why people are losing their minds and living in denial? Even the people that brought this religion to Africa and Nigeria, they don't practice it the way we do. Our people have suddenly become more holier than the Pope. They always try to show that they love God more than any other person. That's if there's a yardstick to measure love. Anyway, the only reason we find ourselves where we are today is because church has become big business. Yes, churches do promotions. They place ads on social media, on legacy media, everywhere around you. Posters, billboards, even in places where churches are not supposed to establish. Commercial areas. You see churches virtually everywhere, in residential estates, in industrial estates, along major highways. Churches are everywhere you turn. They are right there in your face, advertising themselves to you, telling you, here we perform miracle. This one will tell you prosperity is guaranteed. All sorts of marketing words that an ordinary marketer can use to convince a potential client to buy his product. We see this every day. Many successful pastors flaunt their wealth in front of the people. This is a veiled marketing. They are trying to convince the people, if you follow me, prosperity is guaranteed. I am living the good life. Don't you want to live it too? Join me, join my congregation, join my church, and you will become like me. People like to deny this. They like to live in denial. But there's a reason you don't find the number of churches you find in poor countries, in Western countries or developed countries, in America, in Europe, in South Asia. There's a reason for this. It's simply because the people are poor and they are being taken advantage of by religious leaders. Simple problems that should be solved in our society if the services exist. These social services are supposed to be provided by the government. In their absence, poor people fall back to religion. They tell them, pray that this will happen, pray that you will get a job, pray that your child will survive, pray that everything will happen. Yes, not that praying is not good or that is not worth it, but everyone must remember that praying without hard work, without putting in the work, is like you're working in vain. Yes, you must work hard before you can now pray, and God will answer your prayer and it will work out. If you don't have a job, and a paying job at that, you don't expect to miraculously earn money in your account. It doesn't happen. That's not realistic. If you're living on that, you're deceiving yourself. In the absence of government functionality, a working society, religious people prey on the poor people who sometimes are not reasonable enough to understand that this is the way life is supposed to work. This is mostly because poor people are mostly preoccupied by immediate gain, what they will gain instantly because they are poor, they've lost hope. They don't know where the next meal is coming from, so they put their hope in something that they don't even see because they believe that a reward is coming. So why all these happen in our society is because of government absence. There are no jobs, society is practically collapsed. Then people now put their trust in religion. There's a reason people train as doctors, train as pharmacists, as lawyers. They want to solve problems. That's why they are training to gain the knowledge. And in solving problems and providing solutions, they earn a living. That's how life works everywhere, including Nigeria. It's just that opportunities are fewer in Nigeria because it is obviously a poor country that hasn't been able to convert the potential to opportunities, to prosperity for the citizens. Also, over-reliance on religion to solve problems affects the mindset of people. Take for instance someone that is sick abroad. The person is having a serious medical emergency. All the people around him will instantly pick up a phone and dial the emergency line. Within 5 minutes, depending on the country, Emergency ambulance will be there, putting him on a stretcher, putting him inside. They will be treating the person. It depends on the level of emergency. They might come with a helicopter to assist the person to get back to life. Come down to Africa, especially in Nigeria. Many people around the sick person might be praying hard, speaking in tongues. Not that it is not necessary, but what the person needs at that time is serious medical attention. So even if there's an emergency line anyone can call, it's still not guaranteed that the ambulance will arrive on time. Let's even assume the ambulance arrives on time. They successfully evacuate the person to a hospital. The hospital might decide not to take care of the person. Yes, they might start asking for a deposit first. And all these take time. The person might not even have the money for a deposit, and they will be watching on the person having the attack, and life might be lost. That's the reality in Nigeria, which also falls back on why many people resort to praying, because when they look at all the processes they have to go through to help someone in an emergency, they will resort to praying, because it's only prayer at that time to them that can solve the problem or save the person's life, because they already know that all services are non-existent. Even if they exist, they do not have the money to pay for the services. So going back, you will see that it is the failure of the system, it is the failure of government to provide all these services that is making people to resort to religion. Instead of blaming the government, the people that are supposed to provide the services, they now sort of absolve them. Some of them might be absolving them unintentionally, because they will say, after all, I hope in God. If I pray to him, he will answer my prayer and perform all miracles. So they unintentionally absolve the government of any wrongdoing and just hope on religion that the problem can be solved miraculously. So religious organizations shield people from seeing the reality, seeing outside the bubble. They make you understand that once you trust in God and believe that he can solve all the problems. That's why many people don't even bother to go to look for jobs or, to try to help themselves out of the poverty. They believe solely that when they continue having that faith and continue attending the religious organizations, many of their problems can be solved. In contrast, in productive societies where social services exist and they are competent, where job opportunities are abound, people have a different mindset. They start by having a formal education, no matter how small it is. They get a job. Once they get that job, they know they will prosper. They're already on the ladder to prosperity. The sky becomes their limit. They don't have time to go to night vigils or pray as hard as we pray in Nigeria. Many people have the mindset that it is the harder and longer they pray, the more God will answer their prayer, as if God is deaf. So these are the differences. If social services exist in Nigeria and there are more opportunities, fewer people will be attending churches, not to talk of the ones they host on work days. Monday morning, you will see people trooping inside a church. Wednesday morning, Friday morning, not to talk of all the other night vigils they hold overnight. No one that is earning a good salary doing 8 to 5 every day for 6 days in a week will have the time. He can't make out that time to be attending churches on Monday, on a Wednesday, on a Friday, or even night vigils, because the only day he now has to take care of himself or to do personal chores at home or visit friends is only Sunday. That Sunday, he might not even be able to make out time to go to church. The reason this works here is simply because people don't have jobs. They have a lot of time on their hands to go to church and relax. If they were busy like their counterparts in Western countries or in Asia, no one will have the time to do this. People work overtime just to earn enough money. In working countries, when people start their jobs, maybe as early as 18 years or 20 years, depending, they're already thinking about their retirement. So they want to use that their youthful age to put in all the effort they can to make their retirement faster. Most 8 to 5 jobs are too taxing. They are mostly manual. Maybe you're working in a factory where they assemble products. You have to stand for hours. So it's tiring. People want to do this job as fast as they can, maybe 10 years stretch. By that 10 years, they must have paid for a home mortgage, bought a car. So they are now targeting that by 15 years after starting the job, they must have finished paying for their home. So the rest of the savings they have, they can invest it in the stock market or anything and they can resign from their jobs and, focus on other ventures. But in Africa, job security doesn't even exist. Even if you started early with a good job, it's not guaranteed that job, you can do it for 5 years stretch. Someone can wake up one day and just give you the sack. No consequences. So it is a difficult environment. Unfortunately, religious leaders that are supposed to be focusing hard on the government to provide the basic services, they are taking advantage of poor people, promising them heaven on earth, all sorts of things just to bring them to them. The only reason they are doing this is not to bring them to God. It's just for what they can gain. Thanks for watching.